Does this 19th century painting show evidence of time travel? Around 10 years ago, the painting, which dates back to 1860, gained a great deal of attention on social media when someone pointed out that it seemed to show a piece of modern-day technology hidden in plain sight. Entitled The Expected One, it was created by artist Ferdinand George Waldmuller and shows a young woman walking along a path in the countryside while a young man, presumably hoping to gain her affections, waits in hiding with a flower to surprise her. But if you look a little closer at the woman, you can see that she is holding a small black object in her hands and seems to be staring down at it intently. Look familiar? It would certainly be fair to say that what she is holding does bear more than a passing resemblance to a modern-day mobile phone. Before long, the image had gone viral, leading to speculation that Waldmuller had inadvertently painted a time traveler who had journeyed back to the 19th century. But was this really the case? Today, many art experts maintain that what the woman is holding is not a phone at all, but most likely a prayer book, something that would have been a common thing to have at the time. The interpretation of the object as a mobile phone is perhaps more of a reflection of modern-day society, because someone absorbed in looking down at their mobile phone is what we expect to see. There are still those, however, who remain adamant that what the woman is holding really is a piece of modern-day technology. Perhaps the most famous alleged time traveler of recent years was a man who rose to notoriety on internet forums between 1998 and 2001 under the name John Titor. Throughout this period, Titor, who described himself as an American military time traveler from the year 2036, wrote numerous posts discussing various topics, ranging from the mechanics of time travel to predictions of alleged future events. He claimed to have been assigned to a government-backed time travel project that, in one instance, saw him sent back in time to 1975 to retrieve a working IBM 5100 computer that was needed to debug problems with legacy computer systems in 2036. He maintained that he had been selected for the program because his own grandfather had been involved in assembling and programming this particular computer. He also claimed that the reason he was now posting in the year 2000 was because he had stopped off there to visit his family. As time went on, Titor's posts became increasingly questionable and seemed to exhibit obvious inconsistencies. A lot of his predictions of the future have since turned out to be wrong, such as an American Civil War in 2005 and a nuclear World War III in 2015. He also described some of the components of his alleged time machine, which he described as a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by two top-spin dual positive singularities. Titor vanished from the internet in March 2001, never to be heard from again. Investigations conducted since then have generally concluded that his entire story was a hoax, although the identity of the person or persons responsible have never been definitively determined. While some people claiming to know the individuals in question have come forward, the identities of the culprit continue to remain a mystery. There are also some who still believe that Titor was in fact the real deal, and when he disappeared in 2001, he had simply gone back to his own time. Another example of an alleged time traveler that went viral on social media was the case of the so-called time-traveling hipster. It concerned an old black and white photograph taken in 1941 at the time of the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia, Canada, after a devastating flood the year before. The image first appeared at the Braylorn Pioneer Museum in 2004, before being digitized in 2010. Not long afterward, the appearance of one particular individual in the crowd, a man with sunglasses, a modern-looking t-shirt, and a portable camera, prompted speculation that the photographer had in fact captured the image of a time traveler from the future. The fact that the man was surrounded by people in distinctly 1940s attire made him stand out all the more. Many claimed that the man's clothing was too modern and that cameras of such a small size wouldn't have existed at the time. Today, there is still a great deal of disagreement over the photograph. While the image itself is likely to be real and not a fabrication, there are some who believe that his clothing and camera are consistent with the time period, and others who argue that he couldn't possibly be someone native to the 1940s. Whatever the case may be, the time-travelling hipster is likely to be the subject of ongoing debate for many years to come. In 2003, a strange story began to circulate alleging that a man named Andrew Carlson had been arrested by the United States Security and Exchange Commission after he had made 126 extremely high-risk trades on the stock market and had made a huge financial gain on each one. The story goes that Carlson had attracted the SEC's attention after starting off with just $800 and ending up with a staggering $350 million. It was later reported that he had claimed to be a time traveller from 200 years in the future and had traded knowledge in exchange for his release from custody so that he could return to his timecraft. An unknown individual allegedly posted his bail, and although Carlson had been due to appear in court, he failed to show up and was never seen again. Now, if this story sounds too good to be true, then that's because it is. It later turned out that the story had originally appeared in the Weekly World News, a satirical newspaper notorious for its fictional news stories. Somehow, this particular story had been picked up by other news outlets and circulated as a true news piece. Even so, there are still some who believe that there was some truth to the tale. Back in 1995, a man by the name of Mike Markham phoned up Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM radio show to claim that he had discovered a way to travel through time. According to Markham, he had carried out the theft of several power transformers from a local power company and was going to use them to power his time machine. He also maintained that activating the device would likely cause a blackout in the local area. While this all sounds far-fetched, there was reportedly a genuine police record confirming that he had actually been arrested for stealing the transformers, and he was even sentenced to 60 days in prison. Then, around a year later, Markham called up Art Bell's show again, this time to state that he was going to build a second time machine, this time with legally acquired components. He maintained that he had sent several objects and even small animals through his device and was preparing to attempt to travel through time himself. Interestingly, he then vanished without a trace, prompting speculation that he might have actually been the real deal. That would seem to have been the end of it, but then, in 2015, he suddenly reappeared and spoke to Art Bell on his radio show for a third time, this time claiming that he had actually used his time machine. He stated that it had transported him 2 years into the future and 800 miles away from where he started, but that the process had also left him with severe amnesia. He maintained that he had spent a long time in a homeless shelter before eventually regaining his memories. To this day, however, no evidence to back up his story has ever been forthcoming.